Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and good evening to everyone. In today's class, we'll be discussing, in fact, past prepared questions. From here onwards, almost in every class, we'll be discussing past paper questions. And let me do a little correction in this question. Actually, it is not from September, December 21. It is from March, June 2022. This question. And we'll be discussing the approach also. That what sort of approach actually you have to follow for SBR from here onwards. A little correction is needed. March, June 2022. Discuss ethical and professional dilemmas for financial accountant in overseeing the loans made to customers and appropriate actions to be taken. 8 marks. First thing which you have to know, which is extremely important, in SBR, you should not be expecting the entire 100% obviously paper only on IESs and IFRSs. At least ranging from somewhere 5 to 8 marks, there will be on ethics. Like in this question, you can see that pure 8 marks are on ethics. And I don't know how many lectures you people have seen. Maybe towards the end of the course, there's one lecture of around 15 minutes. That is on pure ethics. And I'll ask the admin to share the link of that lecture also, because that lecture is also on the YouTube. So if you have any difficulties in finding where it is in the portal, so I'll ask the admin to share the link also right after the class. Okay. Now, actually, in 8 marks, what exactly we need to discuss? They're saying discuss ethical and professional dilemmas for the financial accountant. It means number one thing is you must be able to understand the scenario when there's a question on ethics. Okay, number one. Second, definitely within the scenario, once you have understood the scenario, then automatically you will come to know that definitely unethical things are happening. Obviously, if within that particular scenario nothing is unethical, why would an examiner be setting a question and asking discuss on ethics when everything is ethical in that particular scenario? So you should be able to understand the scenario. Second, definitely unethical things will be happening in that particular scenario. Now, what is this actually when it comes to ethical dilemma? So in ethical dilemmas, basically what happens, if you go for option A, you might think that this option is acceptable. But on the other end, when you go for option B, then you might be thinking that option B is acceptable. Obviously, when option B is acceptable, then you will be thinking that if option A I should not recommend. If you're recommending option A, then it means you will be thinking that I should not recommend option B. So we'll see what exact dilemma. So dilemma, whenever there is a dilemma relating to the ethics, you should be thinking that there will be more than one options. And if we are going for one option, it means we'll be thinking other options should not be accepted. But if I'm going for other, sometime what happens, all the options might be acceptable for you and may not be acceptable for others. So we'll see what is actually happening in this. If I give you a simple example, it happened with me, I think just maybe, I think just 2 days back or 3 days back. One of the students, okay, he asked me to give him advice. But before asking me the advice, what he did, that was very important. He wrote a really big email, and in that email, he explained each and everything. So if I just cut the story short, in that particular scenario, the particular student was financially extremely weak, wasn't able to support the education. Second, he is actually supposed to give time to his family because his elders are not feeling well also. But reading each and everything, and then I simply advise him that, brother, you should not go for ACC because but looking at your scenario, I recommended him a very short course, just of 6 months short course, and you will be getting a job. Now, what was the ethical dilemma? I said, don't go for ACC is longer for you because looking at your scenario, go for a shorter course. But on the other hand, if I was thinking, why not ACC? ACC is a prestigious qualification. It is the number 4th body in the entire world, sometimes the number 5 in the entire world. He is going to invest more time on ACCA, but after that, the future is really bright. So I was hanging in between two choices. So that was actually, for me, it was you can say some sort of a dilemma. So opting any option was actually, I was thinking that if I have advised him for go for a 6 months course, that was also okay. I did not go for ACC option, but someone else could have gone for ACC options. So in ethical dilemma, actually what happens, there will be number of options and you are opting one, you might be thinking it is correct. Okay, so we'll see what sort of professional dilemma this accountant is facing in the question. Okay. Another thing is appropriate actions to be taken. This is extremely important. Whenever there are appropriate actions, there will be maximum 2 to 3 actions. Number one, if you, let's say you are an accountant and you have come across in an organization that something is really wrong with the system of that particular organization, let's say some unethical activities are happening. So what are the appropriate actions? Number one, you should request to your senior, correct the system. The system is not okay. If I give you an example, let's say, if you are giving bonuses on the basis of profits, seriously, when entity decides the bonus on the basis of profit, to be very honest, this sort of bonus providing system actually encourages those people that are involved in preparing financial statement and getting the bonus. Such actually bonus system encourages them to go unethical, so that to show a high profit in order to get the bonus. So it means something is wrong with the system, which is encouraging them to go unethical. So if you have come across, you have found things like that. Number one, you should be actually convincing the seniors that we should correct the system. Second, you should tell them this sort of system, whatever problems you have found, you should tell them that if you're not correcting these problems, then might be in the short term, entity will not be so affected, but in the future, definitely entity will face the consequences. Third, if it is a really big problem, you can actually inform ACCA. And fourth, if nobody is listening to you, which is going to be the case most of the time, then you should be thinking for resigning as well. I hope appropriate actions should be more or less all the times the appropriate actions will be like that. For example, another example could be, let's say your seniors are just pressurizing you that you should do the window dressing. You should manipulate the books so that they should be getting the bonus and you should be getting a really good, handsome salary or job. So what you have to do, what are the appropriate actions? Number one, you should tell them, I cannot go for manipulating the books. It means we'll be deliberately actually providing the information which is not correct. And manipulation of the books actually affects the decision making of the stakeholders. You have to convince them. If they're not listening, you should go to your, let's say, BOD. Still nobody is listening, you should inform ACC and the final, and you might be thinking, you may be thinking for resigning also. So at least as far as appropriate actions are concerned, I hope it should be clear to everyone. It should be clear to everyone. Another thing which is very important, please, everyone has to listen this point extremely well. See, whenever you are practicing a question, reading a scenario, and you are discussing in your own wordings, in your own words, the volume of the answer which you are going to produce, it can never match the volume which examiner produces. And similarly, your answer and examiner answer will not have the same quality. Nobody is expecting from the students while sitting in examination hall to produce the same quality which examiner is producing and same volume which examiner is producing. Actually, we want satisfactory performance from you. For example, number of 3 to 4 appropriate actions, which I have just mentioned. To be very honest, you can write in each and every question where the question is on ethics and examiner is asking the appropriate actions. Obviously, you might be writing these things just within 3 to 4 lines, and examiner might be writing in maybe 2 to 3 paras. So volume will not give you the marks. Quality will give you the marks. Okay. Another, let's say in B, what they're saying. Discuss whether customer databases and domain names should be recognized under IS 38, intangible asset. Why not? This is the question. Intangible assets, and how the purchase price should have been allocated in accordance with Ifrs 3 business combination. Whatever the payment they have made, how should we allocate that payment? Logically, there are two different intangible assets. One is customer database is different thing. Domain names, that's a separate intangible asset. So there is a possibility you might have paid a single price to get both of these things. So they are asking, how should we allocate the purchase price in accordance with IFRS 3? So we'll be discussing that also. 4 marks. Advise Renshu company on the accounting treatment if the payments for the app in the year ended December 31st, number X8, on the assumption that the amounts did not meet the recognition criteria of an intangible asset. Obviously, if it's not did meet the recognition criteria for intangible asset. If it is meeting, then we'll be capitalizing it. If it is having a definite useful life, we will be amortizing our intangible asset. Did not meet the recognition criteria, then obviously expense out. Let's read the question. And I would request, listen my explanation nicely and try to jot down, main points. That will help you when you will be designing the answer, okay? Listen and listen carefully. Because these sort of practice classes will definitely help you, will definitely facilitate you to slowly and gradually to get a command on these questions. And one thing I've just cleared at the start of the question, you should be mentally prepared that from 5 to 8 marks, you will have a question on ethics. Renshu company develops gaming apps. So first they are just telling us what Renshu company is doing. Why? Students, if I want to ask any accounting treatment from you, first I have to explain you what is actually happening in the particular business. Renshu company develops gaming applications, apps for which customers are encouraged to buy enhancements and add-ons to play more effectively. If I give you an example other than this, relating to enhancement add-ons, for example, normally it happens. If you want to just give an order online, so normally what happens, if you have picked one thing, second, third, normally then the operator also gives you, few suggestions. Sir, if you add this, if you add this, you will be saving the money also, and this is also very good, things like that. So actually that operator works to encourage you that you should increase your order. Over here, what is happening? Renshu company develops gaming apps for which customers are encouraged, okay, to buy enhancement and add-ons to play more effectively. The company's current financial year end is December exit. Little bit what company is doing. The following exhibit available below provide the information, okay. Loans to customer, that is our first requirement. Describes the ethical issues related to authorizing loans to customers. You should not be authorizing the loan to customer. They will not pay you. What do you say, guys? And especially if you already have the information, that particular segment of people, they're not going to pay us. Why would you authorize the loan if you are doing this? It is obviously unethical. Definitely with the company, even with those individuals as well. Why? Obviously, they won't be able to return the loan, then definitely they will be facing legal consequences. So it means you're doing something really wrong, not good for the company, even not good for those customers as well. But now listen, on the other end, as I said, the professional dilemma. On the other end, you might argue and say that to the company, why you want to allow loan to those people, even they apparently they're not able to pay. You might be thinking that if entity provides them the loan, such loan will provide them the opportunity to do something, will provide them the opportunity to be successful. If you are not providing them the loan, they will never be having an opportunity to do something. So it means if you are providing the loan, there's a possibility you might be thinking other way around, that I'm doing a favor to them. You might be thinking that I'm doing a favor for the society. But there's other way of looking at the same scenario with another angle is when you are providing loan to the people, they won't be able to return. So obviously you're not doing good with the company as well as with those people. So let's first read the question. Let's see what is actually the scenario says and what are the appropriate actions which you have to take. Loans to customers. Okay. The financial accountant of Renshu company, an ACCA member, is responsible for overseeing the authorization of small loans of up to $500 to customers for use on their gaming app. Look at this. That is Jamie Play. He's paid a commission based upon the number of loans granted in the period. Look at this. Why would ACCA member and accountant is going to authorize the loan? There's one problem. The problem is your own self-interest. You look more interested. Why this accountant is more interested? That These individuals should have the loan. There's a reason. He's paid a commission based upon the number of loans granted in the period. So, dear students, you need to highlight this self-interest point. So, it means whoever comes to this accountant will try his best, to be very honest, that that particular individual should get the loan. Why? Because he's going to get the commission. The effective interest rate on the loan is approximately, wow, never ever seen such a big interest. I think first time I've seen such an interest rate. The interest rate is 1076%. And let me tell you, obviously, I don't think so. Practically, there will be an interest rate like that. Why examiner has written this? Examiner is actually playing with the minds of the students. That whoever comes to this point, every individual is going to be very honest, is going to waste at least 1 or 2 minutes just thinking, is it correct 1076% interest or it should be 10.76? Actually, your examiner wants you to do that. Maybe you might be thinking he's doing unethical things with us. No. Whatever is the interest rate, you are not here to calculate any amount. Just you need to discuss. So it's a massive interest rate. However, if the loan is paid back within 1 month, everybody won't be able to pay within 1 month. There is no interest charge, okay? Customers apply for short-term loan via an online portal, which gives them an instant decision as to whether loan is approved. Now, what is happening? What is happening in the system? Customer apply for a short-term loans via an online portal, which gives them an instant decision as to whether loan is approved. Artificial intelligence system, which have been subject to frequent cyber attacks. No. Your artificial intelligence system should be so good, should be so updated, that your artificial system should not have frequent cyber attacks are used in this process. Artificial intelligence system which have been subject to frequent cyber attacks are used in this process. Now, stop over here. Another thing one point which we highlighted is self-interest. Second, you have to highlight the point that your artificial intelligence system should follow all the ethical models, all the ethical principles. Why? Because artificial intelligence system is the one which actually approves these loans. What they are saying, artificial intelligence system which have been subject of frequent cyber attacks are used in this process. Customer applies for a short-term loan via online portal, which gives them instant decision. So who actually makes the decision? Not the human being, artificial intelligence system. And artificial intelligence system itself has been, facing frequent cyber attacks. So listen, what are the problems? One problem which we found is self-interest. Now there's another issue which we have just highlighted, that is artificial intelligence system is not up to the mark. Another thing is artificial intelligence system itself has to be on the basis of ethical principles. Currently, the laws on consumer credit in the jurisdiction only allow such loans where the credit worthiness of the applicant has been checked. Look at this. Look at the system. I don't think so that your artificial intelligence system is looking for the credit worthiness. Look at the law. What the law is saying. Currently, the laws on consumer credit in the jurisdiction only allow such loans when the credit worthiness of the applicant has been checked. It means you can say that there are problems with the artificial intelligence system, which is actually approving the loan, and there's self-interest issue also. Okay. There are two groups of customer, group A and B. Now the story gets more interesting. Who have different social demographics. Okay. So both are from a different backgrounds group. The financial accountant has full knowledge of the artificial intelligence system, and knows that credit approval system is positively biased in the favor of group A. Boss, look at this. What is happening? This accountant knows that there are loopholes in artificial intelligence system, which is positively biased in the favor of group A. Now let's read why this system is biased positively towards group A. Why? This is a main question. He defends this practice by saying that it gives group a chance to improve their financial position. No, 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 no. Group A is known to have less wealth than Group B and is less likely to be able to afford to pay back the loan within months. Look at this, guys. I would say something dangerous is happening over here in the system. Number one, the financial accountant is having a full knowledge that artificial intelligence system is positively biased towards Group A. It means normally whoever comes from group A and applies for the loan, then this artificial intelligence system is going to grant the loan to that particular individual. And there are more chances that this individual will not be able to pay, will end up by paying a really massive interest. If not, then facing the legal problems. So it means there is a problem with your artificial intelligence system. Now let's go back to the question and we need to discuss the points. Now, to be very honest, dear student, you should be, I think now everybody has understood the scenario, I think, very well. Now, what actually you need to highlight when you are answering this? Ethical and professional dilemma. For the financial accountant in overseeing the loan to made to the customers and appropriate actions. I'm just highlighting the main points which you need to discuss. Number one, the number one point is you must discuss on artificial intelligence system. Seriously. Now, what is actually happening? Actually, this artificial intelligence system is biased towards group A, which means that we will end up by granting loan more to group A people rather than B. So you have to highlight artificial intelligence system problems. But before highlighting problem, you just first what you have to write, let me tell that. First, you simply need to write one thing. That artificial intelligence system of the entity should follow all the principles of ethics. If there is something wrong with that particular artificial intelligence system, then it should be corrected. Okay, then you have to highlight few other points like relating to loan to group A. You could be in the favor or against. In your answer, obviously you need to discuss that when entity or you simply need to tell one thing when accountant knows that group A people will not be able to, they are not wealthy enough. They won't be able to, let's say, pay. Having this full knowledge and still providing them the loan, granting them the loan, it means it also shows not only the problem with artificial intelligence system, also there's a self-interest of accountant as well. Because accountant, why accountant is so interested? Because accountant gets the commission. The more the loans will be granted, an accountant is going to get the commission. And on the other hand, this accountant, or you can say this artificial intelligence system, is not fair, especially with group A people, because if they will not be paying, then they will end up by paying a really big interest. If not, then they will be facing legal issues. It means you have to discuss on fair and equitable system. Fair and equitable system. It looks the system is not fair, it's not equitable. Once you have the knowledge of group A, why you are granting them the loan? So after discussing all these things, now what sort of relevant actions, appropriate actions, let me explain that. Appropriate actions. Number one, this accountant who is an ACCA member as well should convince the company, should convince the senior that there is seriously things are wrong with our artificial intelligence system and we have to correct them. So number one, that is you have to highlight. Second, you have to tell them, to the senior, that if we are providing, we are granting loan to group A, even I have the full knowledge, they are not wealthy. It means not even you as an accountant and even organization itself is not honest with the group A people. Why? Because once you know that this individual should not be granted a loan, still you are granting a loan. Why you are doing this? So it means we're not fair, we're not honest, because it will either that individual will end up by paying a really massive interest, if not, then facing the legal consequences. So you need to convince your seniors. Let's say if your seniors are not listening, you should inform ACC. And the final appropriate relevant action is you should be thinking for resigning from this job. Obviously, when you will be drafting the answer, so what you will be writing in for 8 marks. Number one, students, please listen and listen to me carefully. Don't go for the volume, because while sitting in exam, you won't be able to produce the same volume, exact same quality. Nobody can do that. If you are able to highlight the main points, that is more than enough. That is more than enough. Seriously. So simply, the first point you should be writing in your answer is that being an ACCA member, accountant, let's say you have to make sure that your artificial intelligence system, should follow all the ethical principles, should follow all the, should have a compliance with all the laws and regulations. Okay. Like it is written in this question that the law says that loan should be granted after checking the credit worthiness. Okay, first you have written this. Second, you should be writing that artificial intelligence system should be technically so sound, that it should not have any issues because of cyber attack and data leakage. Yeah, when there's an artificial intelligence system, it has to be technically sound and it should be secure against the cyber attack and data leakage. Okay. Another point which you have to write is logically, loans should be granted to that group of people they can repay the loan. Logically, loans should not be granted to those individuals, that group which is not able to repay the loan. Okay. After discussing these points, again, so simply then you can directly go for the relevant actions, appropriate actions. You need to convince your seniors that our artificial intelligence system is not appropriate. Another thing we should be highlighting, relating to yourself, that simply giving commission to you on the basis of granting the loan is also, affecting you as well. Because it means you will be more interested that individuals should get the loan. So it will happen because you're a human being. So there's a self-interest issue as well. And if nobody is listening to you, if they're not taking any appropriate action, inform ACC and then finally think for the resignation. So I strongly believe now every one of you, obviously those that are just taking the class and listening to me, should be able to write something on this part. Yes or no, just you can write in the chat box. If you are with me since the start of the class. Students waiting for your response. You can write in the chat box. Oh, let's see, one student has written. It says yes, John. That's great. And that's great. And to be very honest, these classes from here onwards, all the revision classes, they are going to be extremely important. And I would request you as well that you should encourage other students. Try to join these classes. These classes are really helpful, inshallah. Okay, now go for part B. What they are saying. Discuss whether the customer databases and domain names should be recognized under IS 38. So we have to read the question. So actually in 4 marks, there are 2 requirements. Discuss whether customer database and domain names should be recognized under IS 38. First, we have to tell them, should we recognize them as intangible asset or not? This is the first thing. Second question is, how the purchase price should have been allocated in accordance with the Ifrs business combination. So logically, there are 2 requirements in part B. One, should we take databases and domain names as intangible asset? Or second, how to allocate the purchase price according to IFRS 3. Now let's read part B. It's here. Acquisition of assets. Renshu company has purchased a company, okay, which comprise a customer database and number of domain names. Renshu company says we purchase a company, but what is happening in that company? And that company comprise customer database and number of domain names, which do not constitute a business. It's not a business. If it's not a business, so logically you have acquired just assets. It's an asset-based transaction, asset purchase transaction. Therefore, Renshu company has to allocate the purchase price. That is very important. You have to allocate the purchase price to the individual identifiable assets in accordance with IFRS 3 business combination. Okay. For example, I'm just assuming purchase price of the company is $1,000, that you bought a company by paying $1,000, just an assumption. And immediately you came to know it's not a business. And you just bought two intangible assets. One is customer database and second is number of domains. Okay. So actually you have to allocate this $1,000. Then how much of $1,000 the purchase price actually should be allocated to database, customer database, and how much should be allocated to the domain names according to Ifrs 3. Now let me give you the answer of this thing, then we'll go ahead. Actually, in this case, what happens, since it's not a business combination, so what happens, what Ifrs 3 will actually tell you that what should be done. For example, I'm just first explaining the how to allocate the transaction price. Then I'll also explain. Okay, before going to that, is it both are intangible assets? Yes, of course. All you need is you just when you are buying data, customer database and number of domain names. So you just Renshu company definitely will have a right to receive all the future cash flows which they will be generating by using these customer database and domain names. To be very honest, people, they sell the domain names at a very high prices also. Sometimes you never know which domain name becomes, very famous, and that particular domain can be sold at a very high price. So definitely the associated benefit with the customer database usage and the domains, Rancho will get the benefit from those, from the usage of these customer database and domain names. So definitely Rancho should be recognizing these customer database and number of domains as their intangible asset. Okay. So you should. And another thing is both are separate intangible asset. Database is separate and the domain names are separate intangible asset. Okay. Now, how to actually allocate this $1,000 to customer database and number of domains? For example, what Ifrs 3 says in that case, what you have to do? You have to first check what is the stand-alone fair value of, let's say, customer database. Right now, you have paid $1,000 and you bought two intangible assets. One is customer database and let's say another is domain names. Assuming only the customer database is having a fair value, I'm just assuming only the customer database is having a fair value of, let's say 600. I'm just assuming. And number of domain names, they're alone having a, let's say, value of, let's say, 800. Again, I'm telling you guys, I'm just assuming. So standalone selling price of customer database is 600 and standalone price of domain name is $800. So what Ifrs 3 says, allocate this transaction price according to their standalone prices. So for example, out of this 1,000, how much belongs to customer database? Customer database. Just take 1,000 divided by 1,400, 600 plus 800 into 600. So 1,000 divided by 1,400 into 600. I'm getting 428.5 means make it 429. If 429 belongs to customer databases, then obviously domain names. 1,000 minus just for your explanation. This is what Ifrs 3 says. You can also give the reference of Ifrs 13, fair value measurement. Because we are talking about value of intangible assets. So obviously we're talking about fair value. So you can also give the reference of IFRS 13 fair value measurement, that you can use any valuation technique from IFRS 13 which is appropriate for these intangible assets. All you need is just give the reference, because examiner has not specifically asked you to go for IFRS 13. If you have time, so this is also relevant, just write a simple thing that valuation techniques in according to IFRS 13. Simply you can write this: appropriate valuation technique under IFRS 13 could be used to find out the fair value of customer database and domain names. Why do I need the fair value of these customer database and domain names? Like this 600 and 800 is not available. So from where you'll be getting this 600 and 800? You have to allocate this 1000, but you need to allocate this 1000 on the basis of a standalone fair values. If you don't know the fair values, then you should be getting these fair values by using IFRS 13. The customer database relates to a contractual arrangement whereby Renshu company receives a commission for referring customers to online gaming websites. Okay. Renshu company either receives an upfront payment for every customer referred to the gaming website or receive share of the revenue. The acquired asset also included a number of domain names for websites which have gaming content. Renshu company had arbitrarily allocated the purchase price for the company to two intangible assets: domain name, customer database 50. No. This arbitrary allocation is not acceptable. Arbitrary allocation means you did it by yourself. When you are allocating a transaction price, you need a backup of any IFRS. So arbitrary allocation is not acceptable. So what do you have to write? Number one, Renshu company is having the right to get the future economic benefit from by using these databases and domain names. So definitely intangible assets should be recognized. Second, how do we allocate the transaction price? Transaction price should be allocated on the basis of standalone fair values. Third point, those fair values can be determined by using appropriate valuation techniques under IFRS 13. Fourth point which you have to mention is that arbitrary allocation of 50-50% is not acceptable. So I hope that part B is clear to everyone. Yes or no? You can write in the chat box, please, students. Waiting. Part B's explanation is clear. Again, obviously, when you go for exam, the answer that would be very, very high, very, very big. But I'm here to guide you the scenario. That's great. See, advise Renshu company on the accounting treatment of payments for app in the year ended December X8 on the assumption that amounts did meet the recognition criteria for an intangible asset. And in another part, they say did not meet. Let's see. Payments for app. Renshu company develops new gaming apps in conjunction with other companies. In conjunction with other companies means in connection with other companies. When acquiring a stake in these projects, Renshu company makes an upfront payment and agrees a series of further payment based upon the fulfillment of certain defined objectives in the process. Okay. Both before and after the app is given final government approval. Renshu company develops gaming app not solely by itself. How they are developing this gaming apps in connection with other companies when acquiring a stake in these projects. So what happens? You actually acquire your holding in these projects. Renshu makes an off immediately. Renshu makes the payment and agrees a series of further payment also. But series of further payments actually base upon the fulfillment of certain defined objectives in the process, both before and after the app is given final government approval. Let's say Rensho company and there are 4 others, they want to make an app, okay? So assuming Rensho company has made one payment upfront to get some stake in that particular project, further series of payments will be made upon fulfillment of certain objectives before and after the approval of before and after app is given final government approval. Prior to the current year, okay, the payments made have been accounted for an acquisition of separate intangible asset as the price paid reflected itself that the expected future economic benefit would flow to Renshu. The probability recognition criteria I-38 was considered to be met. Now, what is happening prior to the current year? It is clearly mentioned prior to the current year, what happens? The payment have been accounted as an acquisition of separate intangible assets as the price paid reflected its belief. So simply when IE38 recognition criteria is met, then definitely you should be recognizing that as your intangible asset. How in the year ended December X said Renshaw company revises its strategic plan and decided that all the previously capitalized payments to date were to be de-recognized and expense as R&D. Now what is happening? December X 8, Renshaw has revised its strategic plan and decided that all previously capitalized system to date were to be de-recognized and expense them as R&D. Okay. Earlier they were capitalizing, now they are saying, yeah, let us expense out. This reversal of current accounting treatment has arisen due to concern that the payment did not meet the criteria for recognition as intangible asset and also that cost will not be recovered in full. Now listen. Initially, the payment was capitalized when you used to become the part of those projects. But in the current year, Rancho has realized that all those payments were not meeting the criteria of being an intangible asset. So now they have decided let's expense out and the entire thing will be treated as an R&D. Rancho considered this action to be changed in accounting estimate, therefore recognizing the amount prospectively by recharging the payment to profit or loss. Now here Rancho is making a mistake. Why? Now listen. Let's say in the previous year, you have capitalized the payment. You made a payment. The payment was actually an expense, but you treat it as an asset. But after 2 years, now you are saying that those assets which we capitalized, they were not meeting the capitalization criteria. And let's expense out them. And now you are saying it's a change in estimate. So listen, number one, it's not a change in estimate. If it is not meeting the criteria of IS 38, that's a correction in error. It means Rancho has made an error. Logically, it was that particular asset which they have capitalized, it was not meeting the capitalization criteria. So they made an error, and errors should be corrected actually retrospectively. And the cumulative effect of correction of error is actually taken to the retained earning. Equity will be adjusted. So a very important point is this is not in change in estimate. That is, you have to correct the errors. And when we are correcting the errors, so obviously all the previous errors, except the current year, all the previous errors will be corrected against the opening retained earning. For example, previously you have capitalized the amount of, let's say 500,000. You should have expense out. It means your opening retained earning will be reduced by 500,000. So that should be treated as correction of error rather than change in estimate. Okay. So what you have to write in part C, number one, the recognition criteria is met, then obviously it should be recognized as an intangible asset. Now, when it comes to derecognition, because they are saying that we should derecognize. So one is for recognition, you just need to write if IE38 is recognition criteria is met, then it should be capitalized. Second, you also write like that. If these intangible assets are having, let's say, simply if the recognition criteria is met, then capitalize them. Another point is, now the another point which you have to just write is the derecognition criteria. When do we actually derecognize the intangible asset? One, if you have sold the intangible asset, obviously, if you have sold the intangible asset, you need to derecognize. Or let's say you have not sold the intangible asset, you have not sold the asset, but company says now from here onwards, we will not be getting any future economic benefit from those assets. Still, you can derecognize. So when it comes to derecognition, one is you have sold the asset, derecognize. Second, if you're saying, no, we will not be getting any economic benefit from here onwards from these assets, then when you're saying this, you will not be getting any economic benefit from these assets from here onwards, and you're thinking for the derecognition. So you can do that. But before just say, when you are saying that from here onwards, we will not be getting future economic benefit from these assets, then you should also be thinking for the impairment loss. There's a possibility when you're saying we'll not be getting economic benefit in the future from this asset, then it means this asset should be impaired. Then technically the carrying amount will become zero due to impairment loss. So for derecognition rules, either you have sold it or you're thinking that we'll not be getting any future economic benefit by using this asset. If you're thinking like that, you should be thinking for the impairment loss. Another thing is, in the current year, they're saying previously it did not meet the criteria, so it should be expense out and it should be treated as a change in estimate. So this is incorrect. It is not change in estimate. That's an error which you have made in the past. You have capitalized something which was not meeting the criteria of capitalization. So it has to be dealt retrospectively, and accounting is just correction of errors. And all cumulative effect of previous errors should be adjusted against the opening retained earning. So I strongly believe that I have highlighted all the main points in this question. Is this clear to everyone? Please, you just again write in the chat box. So students are very thin. I don't know. Okay, now I have a request. What is my request? I'm going to share the answer as well in the WhatsApp group. So please, immediately after the class, do read that answer at least one or twice. And after reading the answer, please again, obviously I know that examiner obviously must have written far more than what I have explained, but the main things should be same. The main concepts should be same. You write less, but write with a high quality, you will get a really good marks. But I would request, please just read the answer of this question. If you have a latest kit, you can find the answer in the kit as well. Otherwise, I'm going to share in the WhatsApp the answer also. Read it at least once and please try to write the few points in your own wordings. And what I'm going to do, inshallah, I'll ask the admin to keep one more class tomorrow, and the topic is going to be same. Again, we'll be discussing a question on ethics and IAS 38. So thank you very much for taking out time and taking this live class. Thanks a lot and have a nice life.